we got some pretty shocking news here that I didn't expect, man. Not because Tim Tebow isn't should we call him a saint, or I don't mean that in a literal sense, just the guy's a good guy, man. He traveled across the globe with his family to treat people with leprosy. He didn't want to receive an award from Playboy for some kind of athlete of the year or something like that because he didn't stand by that message. You know what I mean? He wanted to openly put it out there that he wanted to remain a virgin until marriage. And, he's just a good dude. I know when religion comes into things, there's a lot of different debates and stuff like that. And it's a whole nother conversation. But Tim Tebow, the human being, is a solid guy, man. I've never seen him even be halfway wrong, and after the NFL didn't work out, he went and played some baseball, tried to make that NFL comeback a couple years ago. It didn't work out. He made some preseason rosters and all that, but here he is now speaking out on a very disturbing thing that's really going on. This ain't cap, you know what I mean? I know there's a lot of conspiracies and stuff like that about this topic, but are they really all conspiracies, right?
So instead of hearing from me, I would rather you hear from one of my heroes, a young girl who went through extreme abuse for 7 years, and almost every night she got raped for 7 years. And in the middle of her abuse, this is what she writes. Help me. Monsters are chasing. Can't you see? Monsters are whispering. Can't you hear? Monsters are shouting, you're nothing. Can't you feel my pain? Monsters are pushing. End it all, just jump. Can't you hear all the whys I'm asking? Monsters are laughing. You're all alone in this. Can someone please rescue me? This girl and thousands of boys and girls just like her, they're calling out to you and to me. And how many times in my life have I missed the call? Have I missed the mark? Unfortunately, too many.
So you hear Tebow, man, and right away, right off the rip, I see a lot of people echoing the same sentiment that I am, man. Is Tebow going to have a target on his back behind this? Is Tebow going to be safe? Is Tebow protected? I mean, I'm sure if we asked him, someone who's so into his faith and stuff like that, he would say, God's got me, but God gave man free will, or mankind has free will. Again, you're getting into biblical, religious discussions that I'm not trying to dive into. The point is Tim really safe? And that was some scary-ish to hear this girl who survived this abuse talking about monsters chasing her. And people are like, damn, man, Tim played at that Florida Gators team that had murders, Aaron Hernandez, and all kinds of other ish going on, and he kept his nose clean. But here he is here, putting his, back up against the chopping block, so to speak, speaking about stuff that a lot of people ignore to speak about. And real talk, this stuff goes on all across the country, and there's a lot of situations where it's hard for people to be prosecuted. These scumbag pimps out pimping kids and trafficking them across state lines, and in a lot of instances, Homeland Security officers get involved, and it's not as easy for individuals to be prosecuted as you would think. It happens, but not all the time. And then you got the pimps whining and complaining about how they're getting hit with ex-offender status and human trafficking charges and stuff like that. Like there was this one dirtbag who was a part of the No Jumper platform who was going on social media sites trying to scout girls to pimp. And he ended up talking to an undercover police officer who was posing as a female, a decoy, and he pretending to be she, claimed originally that they were of age, but then later confessed that they were underage, and dude got convicted and went, they read all the stuff out in court and everything. And, this scumbag tries to act like, oh, the police set me up, this, and that. They just messaged me. Like, nah, man, you's a scumbag, dirtbag, and you got exposed for it. And I don't know, like where I grew up in the streets, it was mainly drug dealing. The crack era. It wasn't the original crack era, but the crack era was still raining heavy in the streets, and that's what a lot of cats were doing, was selling crack in the streets. There was some heroin around. There wasn't all this fentanyl and all this ish of the current day. The late 90s, the pill game really started getting crazy, and that kind of transferred into where we are now with all this stuff. But I never knew of the pimp game until I moved to different areas. The most you saw was drug addicts trying to get high by different means or whatever. But there's pimp stuff more towards the Western Hemisphere. The map is crazy, and a lot of these individuals are snatching up young girls, and in some instances, straight up using physical tactics to make them do that stuff. And even if they don't, it's dead wrong. It's ex-offender-ish. They're underage. It's sick. It's disgusting. It's disturbing. And they all deserve to get hit with that ex-offender tag and get hit with, them trafficking charges, if you ask me. You know what I'm saying? I don't know where this kind of stuff got put on a pedestal and glorified or anything like that. I heard some pimp dude on a podcast talking about back in the day, like the earliest job ever made, Mary Magdalene. Here we are referencing the Bible once again. It's the earliest job there ever was. And, we're just providing services with consenting adults and stuff like that. And I mean, at the end of the day, consenting adults doing what they do by their own choosing or whatever, of their own free will, that's one thing. But from my understanding, and I don't want to put that on all the motherfuckers out there pimping, but from my understanding, man, there's a lot of underage-ish going on. Everyone jump in the comment thread and let me know your thoughts on all that. But the other side of things that we're getting into is this happening on an elite level? You know what I'm saying? Individuals tied to politicians and tied to certain sectors of the government and stuff like that. Is that a real thing with everything we saw with Epstein and stuff like that, who, operated this island of all kinds of disturbing stuff for the longest time, Billy Joel voice, and did it freely, you know what I'm saying, for forever. And then we all know the way that went down with him being deceased. We're not going to dive too deep into that on here. And then Ghislaine, she got hit with her sentence, but she's in prison or whatever. And, there's kind of that book on that whole case is closed, which is wild if you think about it, because they're not really connecting all the dots like they're supposed to. And that kind of brings me to this next point that we see people reacting. You see some people too, I just want to point out, saying, oh, Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis did the same thing, spoke out like they were, out to try to save people and the victims. And then they went and supported that scumbag, Danny Masterson, and they're dead wrong for that. You know what I'm saying? But don't compare them to Tim Tebow at all by any means. Like, the guy, he's Saint Tim, more or less, but it's just wild. I see people saying the government could stop this. They could stop the trafficking. Just like if they really wanted to stop the D-rugs, I'm not saying they could all shut it down, no question, but they probably could, I think. And they could definitely greatly lessen what's going on with the drug trade and stuff like that. And, there's just so much that can be done nowadays with all these satellites and the stuff that we saw Snowden leak out with this, tapping into different devices and, triangulating locations. And they have access to probably solve damn near every crime, but yet little kids are still being violated like this. It's sick. It's twisted, and someone pointed out too, one of them true crime podcasters, I forget the name of this one dude who he started, he's on a mission trying to help underprivileged minorities, because they don't get a lot of news attention when it comes to their family members going missing and everything like that. Like a small percentile of people that go missing, whether kids or adults, hits the news. You really don't see the true numbers, and that's a fact. That's fact. You can take that to the bank. Tell me I'm wrong if you think I'm wrong. A lot of this stuff doesn't get the coverage it should. And I don't know, like, why does this evil go on? Is there people really tied to it on an elite level? That's the question that's being raised. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about everything when it comes to this trafficking ish, from the street level pimp, scumbag motherfuckers, to who's really at the top of this stuff. You know what I mean? And like I said, we just had that whole Epstein thing get a neat bow placed on it all to close it all out. Like, what's the real deal? What's really going on? What's really good with all this? I want to hear everyone's thoughts, take opinion. As always, that's what it's all about on my platforms, is talking with y'all, the people. But Tim Tebow, like I said, it shocked me. It doesn't shock me that this isn't his character to do this. I just didn't foresee this coming, you know? What do y'all think about Saint Tim? What do you think about all this? Is he safe? Will he be in danger? Can this stuff be stopped? Will we ever find out the truth about all this? Jump in the comments, subscribe, and stay tuned for more true crime content and much, much more. I'm out of here. Peace and God bless y'all. Be safe.